What's up, boys and girls? Lambo here, and I'm back from the IEM Katowice break, which was not really a break, but since I was casting and I was coaching, so I still did some things, but I was not streaming and I didn't record YouTube content, so I'm finally back. And since today is Tuesday, we're coming back with a Pepega Tuesday analysis video where I analyze my subscribers' replays. Today, I will analyze 3 ZvTs. All of which are between High Masters League and Mid GM. One of them even is against Harstem's off race. So yeah, if you want to go and check out specific replays, the first one was against Mech, the other ones were against Bio, the last one was even late game against Bio. You can check in the timeline to just watch the match that you really want to see. Anyways, I think it's cool that it's high level replays because I'm going to go more into detail rather than just telling you guys to macro and to fix your early game pretty much. So I hope you guys enjoy it. The first replay we have is from Numi, who gets his replay analyzed every single week somehow. He's very lucky. He said the ZvT 5.2 versus 5.4. I don't know what to do when I have a lead. Looking at it now, I think I might just start all-inning off 66 drones if I have a lead, since it seems like most players have little to no units, but I don't like attacking as Zerg because it feels like it's much easier to throw a Zerg than the other races when you attack. Any thoughts in general would help. I don't like playing late game. If you want to go for timings after you're ahead, I would suggest that you can try staying on layer tech, but you should still make more drones. 66 drones is not an option unless you already have a roach horn and you want to go for 1 roach openers. If you want to do a timing, and you're ahead, maybe your upgrades are ahead, you can try to time your attack with 2-2 and then have as many bailings as possible. If you're a Muta player, obviously you can break your opponent with just splitting up your army well. So those are I think the main ways you can put pressure on the Terran and capitalize on a lead. But you're watching my stream, right? Very often for me even it's very hard to kill Terrans, and the optimal place to just make more drones. With the famous saying of Arthos is when ahead, get more ahead. Be more, get more ahead, something like that. Right. Interesting spore here. You should probably put a creep to me there, especially against BC. It's very helpful. Since you think you were ahead, the early game shouldn't be too important in this case. You're playing against Terran, in that case you can very easily kill them with 66 drone roach over the Rapture. Okay. What? Hello? Hello? Sir? I can't zoom in, he's too far in the corner now. Okay, this is not how you defend BCs. If he actually just right-clicked your queen, you would have needed to run away with your drones, and he could have clicked like... Maybe you would have lost 6 drones or so. You need to have at least 3 queens ready with this spore. 1 queen is not enough. This guy did not know how to control the BC whatsoever. But since you're close to GM, you need to, first of all, know how to recognize a BC build. BC builds are very, very easy to scout. For a couple of reasons. One, very often the starport builds its own tech lab. Which is not the case here, right? And he even started a fake Viking, which is nice, or he even let it finish. Either way. You're gonna notice that there is no starport if they go BC first. This was actually Viking into BC. But if you have any idea that it might be BC, which honestly, if it's Viking into BC, this is the one build where, never mind, it's not that easy to know that it is a BC coming, because there are also Viking builds into straight up Bio. But you need at least a creep tumor here, and I assume you thought it would happen, right? Otherwise, why the hell is there a 4th spore? Also, you made your spores too early, I'm pretty sure. You saw there was no cloak on the way, so it's probably not a Banshee. I'm gonna pause the replay right here. Did you think it was Banshee? For the double Banshee Kamikaze, usually when Terran players go Banshee, they will start Cloak right away. I do not think anyone fakes Cloak the other way around to not actually get Cloak. Juveler was alive above the Sniper for quite a while, so I don't think that's an actual thing really. But yeah. So I'm not sure why, again, you thought you were ahead. We've had this a couple of times already. You lost 3 drones, which is nice. Ah, okay, here we see something.
Our forces are under attack. Our forces are under.
If you want to play Lingbane Muda against Mech, you have got to go to 10 gas and like 90 drones ASAP, as soon as possible. If you want to actually kill Mech, like this build is mega greedy. This cannot hold anything, like actually nothing. You could do any type of, like, once you realize there's no second BC on the way or something, you could even just walk across the map with Roach Ravager Queen. And there's nothing you can do, but in general, against BC Mech, if you have a good early game, and you have a Roach run, which you should if it's Mech, you can make Roach, Ravager, Corruptor and kill them of 66 drones, or 69 with 7 gas. If you want even 80 drone, 8 gas, Roach, Ravager, Corruptor, if you realize it a little bit later and your Roach run is a little bit too late, that's how you kill Terran players, if you don't like to play late game. But you can play an aggressive mid game, which lets you avoid late game pretty much entirely. Okay, you even lost the BC, that's not great. You are in fact ahead in this game for sure. Not sure what this is for. You should make a Roach run against Mech. They're very good. Roaches, Ravagers, both very, very good. You should have also pissed on the CC here. Or even the Geysers maybe might have been better. Okay, so we're playing Lingbane Hydra, I guess. And now you're throwing away a lot of units here. This is not... If you want to kill your opponent, you go for a designated attack. Obviously this did not seem to be the plan here, since we're going for Lurkers. I think in general Lurker Hydra Viper is pretty bad, if this is what you're going for. And the Lingbane Hydra is worse than Lingbane Ravager, so... If you actually just maxed out on Lingbane Ravager as well, on let's say 90 drones or so, and just kept A-moving in here, because there is no planter here obviously, you also would have won quite easily. This guy has very little tanks. It's 11 minutes into the game and this guy has 4 tanks. 11 minutes. You could have been maxed like a minute ago. Easily. Easily. So yeah, the thing that you need to change if you want to kill them is a different unit composition mostly. Widow Mines. But if you want to play, yeah, you need Vipers. You should have made Vipers before the Lurkers. Always make Vipers before the Lurkers. Against any tank composition, this also goes for Bio, very important. This is a good move. But you also need to have some units there. So you can't just go there with a couple of Cyclones. Okay, now we have Viper Lurker without any high... Is your rally point set there? No, it's not. Not sure why Zerglings keep running in here. let this run out. I'm very surprised that this game ends in 30 seconds. I feel like if it ends in 30 seconds, you must be the one winning. This game ends in 10 seconds from now? Alright. Let me put this sound a little bit lower. Okay, a couple of things. So, as I said before, you want to kill your opponents in the mid-game. You want to play a mid-game focused army, then don't make Hydras overall. Make Ravager Bane, that's probably the composition you're looking for. Against BC openers, you can also go for a timing with Roach Ravager Corruptor, either one with lower drone count where you run into the third, or with a higher drone count where you try to keep them from taking a fourth. If you want to play a little later mid-game compositions, you can go Ling Bane Muta, Ravager Bane Corruptor, Roach Ravager Bane Corruptor. This is fine. You can also try playing Hydra Viper, but you need Hydras. It's not Lurker Viper. Also, if you're actually, I think, in a fine position, to be honest. I think if you engage this properly, that was winnable. But also, on Oxide, you need to clear this rock, man. It's very important to clear the rocks. So, the game is 60 minutes in, there's no way you didn't have a time to clear these rocks at any moment, right? And then, if you try to play with the Lurkers, Lurkers are not the units that outrange anything, so if you want to just abduct units, just play with Hydras, because they can also shoot air units, and they're more mobile. You don't need to burrow and unburrow all the time. You do need some Lurkers if you want to play Hydra Viper against, otherwise you just lose to Hellions, but mostly it should be very Hydra Viper heavy. But this composition that you're playing is supposed to jump on him, and if you actually engage this properly, and I'm gonna show this here for a second, his army will die very fast, but obviously your army isn't that big, because you also have a big flank should be coming from here, but that's not possible now, obviously. So let's say we're setting up a flank, right? And what I would do is I would look where the Vikings are. They're on this side, and as I go in, I might fake with a Viper here, but realistically I don't do that. Before you run in with the ground units, you try to blinding cloud everything, even though your Vipers are gonna die. Let's say these tanks are all sieged. One per sigma, you have so much energy. You run in here now. There are not actually that many. There are really not that many Hellbats here. So I think you could have taken a fight and then remaxed. Let's say you would have lost all his army but beaten half of his army. That would have actually been fine. You could have remaxed and then killed the army. And then probably counterattacked. Okay, do we have any questions about that game in the chat? Can you play Ling Bane compositions if he just masses tanks? I mean, yeah, Ravager Ling Bane is a composition with Ling Bane, right? Muta Ling Bane too. If you're talking about Ling Bane only, no. If you want, you could probably also make that work, possibly, but I thought that was too many Vipers. If you go for abducts, that was definitely not too many Vipers. If you would go for just a blind, I mean, in general, this was not too many Vipers, no. Against Mech, if you want to play Viper compositions, you need that many Vipers. Is there a good timing for a inning of 66 drones versus Mech? There are a lot of Roach Ravager Corruptor timings. If you check old replays, I'm sure you're gonna find something. I'm trying to think of a game that I've had, but it's a little bit hard. Basically, you don't really need to go after the time in game. You just make 11, 12 corruptors, depending on how many BCs you have. If you only saw one BC and there's no second 2 BC move out, then you can stop at 8 corruptors or something, and then you just make Master Roach Ravager, and then you attack, basically. Very similar to the way that you do it in ZvZ against Muta. So this would be a, let's say, 170-ish supply attack, 160, 170, something like that. The moment you have that, rather than going for looking after the time, I think is better. Are there any good mech maps in this map? Romanticide. I'm not so sure. Probably, yeah. Romanticide looks like it should be a good mech map. I think Death Hour also is pretty decent actually, because you can. It's not that easy to sack one side of the map as a Zerg, because you will always get like 2 kills. You gotta kill these 2 bases or these 2 as a Terran. And then like the base trading style works a little bit less on Death Hour. But yeah, I think Juggernaut is pretty bad. Lightshade should be pretty bad. Killer is pretty bad. Oxide should be decent, probably. Oxide, Death Hour, Romanticide should be the maps for mech, maybe. Is it dumb to try to do a +1 roach timing versus non-BC mech openers? No, that's not dumb. That's fine. Roach Ravager. If they don't play BCs, I think you guys should always go Swarmhost. It's very, very good against mech, non-BC mech. Unless they have like speed benches as well or something. If you just mix 1 BC, can you skip Spire and just go for Roach Ravager all-in? Yes, but you can't know that. I really assume that you guys don't follow up Scout for if there's a second BC in production. I would be very surprised. Numi is low GM, right? I would be very surprised, Danjulo, if I was looking at your replay and you're actually follow up scouting for a second BC. 75 drone, any drone count you want. Any drone count you can go Swarmhost between 70 and 90. Just need to then also have less Swarmhost, obviously. Alright, so the next replay is from Ghosty. So now we're actually looking at a mid-Grandmaster match, which is pretty exciting because we're gonna have to go a little bit more into detail. Ghosty said, I think I was like a bit behind in the early game, but don't remember the replay a lot anyways. Fantastic. So we have exactly no information from Ghosty about what exactly he wants us to look at. It's amazing, man. 17 pool. There is 6k barcodes that I... What? Oh. You're missing an E after the UR. So that's the first tip. The second tip is if you play this build, you should run out with the Zerglings. I'm not sure why you didn't. You saw the SCV, right? Okay, so you just wanted to make sure he doesn't scout. That's fine. So this is a YouTube build. I don't have a name for this one. It's just a 5 roach build. Can't believe you didn't see that. You should try to go after the Marines every time in this situation. Every time. Very often you're gonna get a Marine and they miss microing. Okay. Very standard response. Usually, if I do this build, I guess it's not exactly my build, right? Where's the... Yeah, there's no Ravager. This response, it's dead 100% against my build. It's not good. It is a little bit less committed. What is... You were definitely behind, yeah. You also don't have a creep. You should probably make an earlier creep tumor here. I think probably right away, actually. This build order does not seem right. I think the queen is also too late. Yeah, so this build order is not correct. The queen should have already been started for sure. I don't think this delays your roach. Look, you're floating money. And then if this queen is earlier, you could have ran down here and made a creep tumor at the front. But this is just not exactly the build order. Like even if you don't want to play my 5 roach or 4 roach 1 ravager build, that's fine, but you should still make the queen earlier at the very least and put an early creep tumor here. Okay. So let's see how the game... goes. He can't keep up with the multitasking of the Terran, who's fast enough to write and play. That's very, very, very sick because Terran is actually extremely hard to play, if I believe any single Terran player. What is the ZZ? Are we one of the Koreans now? You're honestly very, very, very far behind. Who is this Terran? Okay, you need to tell me afterwards who this Terran was. We're down 20 supply. That's winnable. I like that. I would have liked if we went 4 gas Ling Bane. And just played Ling Bane. Maybe you can morph 3 Ravagers. And then you can try holding tank pushes as a decent run by. Playing with the Vidra announcer. So once you see, there are already units here. One thing that I think is very, very good if they're tank pushing is that this is usually the best time to actually clear the push, and you could come from behind with these Zerglings. Going for these Baneling run bys can be cool as well, but I would have used them from behind, and then the tanks probably would have gotten a shot less on the Banelings, but this was also a good cleanup. And we got some damage done. Very cool. We're struggling a lot with our macro until now. We're starting some mutas. You're making your mutas very late, by the way. It's not normal to start your mutas after your 2-2s then. I honestly can't keep up with the chat, it's too much for me. .88 drones, pretty poggers. Attack. This was bad. So the counter attack is very good. You should probably consider sacking this base slowly as he pushes forward. We are saving the drones and we're counter-attacking. I'm gonna tell you what could have gone better. I want to see the replay first. Do not use too much time. I think the main reoccurring issue that I see in your play and TVZ is that you can't spend your money. I also would have never started 3-3 in this situation. I don't think I would have ever started that. But you're actually missing a lot of your injects, I feel like. Well, I'm saying I feel like the queens have literally max energy, so that's probably not an entirely perfect play. But you were very far behind and you did a good job in general with the timing of when you made drones. I think that was very good. Your crew spread was very... Well, you had very little crew spread, but that's because you started very late. I don't think that's because your creep itself... You missed a lot of cooldowns. Although you put some Denver tumors here. But yeah, you started from very far behind, so that's decent. But you were floating a lot of money here already, so this is the first time. We missed 2.5 injects here. 2.5 injects here. Here we're fine. So I think you need to revisit injecting a little bit. We're making 6 hatcheries and we're floating 1k. That's after making 2-2 as well. And I honestly would never go Mira like this. I would either go Hydra then or straight Hive. This is not like, I don't think Mira here was a good call.
Your forces are under attack.
I think in general the best style to play, especially against Marine Tank, if you're behind, is just Ling Bane and Queen, because it's very, very strong defensively. So one cool thing that you can do is you can just go mass run by and defend at home with the queens.
No more minerals in
And a couple of banelings. And especially because you were ahead in upgrades, you could have done run bys, mass run bys once you had like 1-1, and also now when you have 2-2. With like almost your entire army, while giving up bases and expanding somewhere else. So like right now, because you're 2-2s, done if you had your entire army running in here, for example, would be a play. Obviously, if he closes the depot, you just run back out, but it's a low risk, high reward play because your units are faster than Terran units, obviously. And also, even if he just walks back, that's good for you, right? But this is actually Dark Inject here. Hello, milady. Hello. Hello. Oh? Anyone? Anyone? This one is working overtime here at the third base. Hello? I think ZvT is a very mechanical matchup, so cleaning up the mechanics usually is very good. Because the way you played, the timings at which you engaged were good, you set up your engagements decently. But like if you have this and if you spend these minerals, you're all of a sudden even in supply. And you take so much better of a fight, right? And even just after the fight, if that money was spent in Zerglings. Like look how that fight goes. And right now, if you spend all that, you would actually be ahead in supply, and you're starting 3-3 to spend your money basically, because they actually just didn't inject once for the last 5 minutes. A little bit much. Okay, and we have a replay from Crudfan. He sent me a replay on Romanticides. He said ZvT 5.3k MMR would like to know how to change the 2-on-1 response in the video versus 3cc 2-on-1 rather than normal 2-on-1. That's... Oh, you're playing against Kevin's off race. That's amazing. Bragging about past wins is it's a move that all the programmers like to see. When people brag about beating your off race. Very cool, very poggers. So the way you change against 3cc 2-on-1 is you just play a normal opener and you just make drones, like way more drones. You don't, against 2-on-1 you actually cut a little bit of your drone production for earlier queens, and you also start making extra Zerglings way before you get to 60 plus drones. Against 3cc 2-on-1 you can go to like 63 drones easy and hold everything with just queens and links. So what you're doing right now is correct. I have already gotten a second gas, most likely. Second gas, second Evo chamber I would have already gotten. And you're just, you stopped at a way too early drone count. You can easily make 60 drones, and then you will have these 30 Zerglings out, but later. And he can't do anything about these queens, like these are uncombat shielded marines.
Research complete.
We're also floating 1k minerals, which is not good. We're probably starting... you also get a way earlier fourth edge, by the way. So those are the things that change. So, I will ask this once. Did you realize that it was 3cc, or did you think it was a normal 2-on-1? You did realize from the depots that it was a 3cc. Okay, so yeah, you can... Okay, I'm gonna go very much so into your build order then. And I'm gonna show you where you kind of went wrong. So this so far is fine. Usually your first script tumor is not supposed to go down at the same time with your second tumor. But I was a little bit late, but it doesn't really matter, especially on Romanticide, because your forward creep starts at the forward hatchery anyways. So we're still making drones. There's no depot. There's also no need to sacrifice your overlord against 3cc especially. But now you know that it's 2-1-1 with 3cc. And you start this. This is cool still. We're still cool. You should start an extra overload already, otherwise you're gonna get supply blocked. We're making drones over extra queens, that's good. Plus one carapace. Already, right now, at the very latest, I would start second gas, second evo if you want to play double upgrades. Otherwise, you can also go for layer first, but second gas right now. And around now is when I usually got the minerals for a 4th base. Also, don't start a 7th queen. Okay, this is why I don't have the minerals. I was about to say, usually I have minerals around this time. You don't need that many queens that early. Just take a 4th base right now. And still only make drones. Only drones. And either you now start your... once you reach 100 gas, either now you start your +1 or your lair. You should already have a second gas, as I said. Still, we should be making drones. Right now we're floating larva. Around this time is when you should hit 60-63 drones. Around this time, right? Let's see, we have 30 Zerglings. Let's say you made those 7 anyways. Which shouldn't really be the case since there were no Hellions. So that's 15 extra drones. So that brings us up to what, 62? So, yeah, you would be at 63 drones right now, and if you spend these minerals, you also would have had a 4th hatch, and then you start producing. I like 5 gas. If you want, you can also go to like 60-ish, or also 63 drones, and then already go 6 gas, and then after you make your round of Zerglings, you saturate the other gas. If you want to go Mutas, for example. In general, probably on your level, you can also go 66 drones no matter what. The 63, like these 3 extra ones, not that big of a deal, honestly. That's more of a high level thing because they can do a Hellbat variation, which is kind of annoying to deal with. But as long as you had your bin less than time, so yeah, you're very far behind already. But the game is gonna go 30 minutes, and I've watched Harstem play Terran, so I know that he's a massive Pepeg himself, so I'm not surprised. Right, you could have already started this hatchery as well. Don't be too afraid to start extra hatcheries when you have a lot of minerals. I'm just gonna rush through this because you mostly asked about the early game and you also mostly lost because of the early game. You're already pretty far behind. At this point, we're 15 workers behind the Terran, which is not a good look. One thing that I immediately notice when I look at your minimap is that you are blind. This is your only map vision. We have relatively poor crew spread, which is explained by struggling to defend or mostly using most of our attention for defense. That's okay. Absolutely no overlord spread. Not even a little bit. Not even here. Like, not even at your base. In general, you should have overlord spread everywhere because there is no Viking, right? You also should have a Zergling in front of here. You can also in general spread Zerglings, but at least one where the usual tank push comes is very nice, so you can be in position and stuff. Because as long as you have this one Zergling here, you can pre-split all your army here, a little bit here, a little bit here. And nothing bad can ever happen to you, because you're never just gonna be completely out of position for a straight up push, right? So that allows you to pre-split your army, so map vision very, very important.
Sequences spun, swarm mutated.
Oh, yeah, your drone count is way too low. Obviously you don't have a 4th edge right now, but your drone count is way too low. Just click the banelings. Oh my god. That was so frustrating to watch. This is the army and he stutter steps back like a maniac. Okay, 1, 2, 3. There's 3. I'm pretty sure he misclicked 2 times there. And now he's just running. Killing his own marines. Harstem, oh no.
Mineral field depleted.
You're entirely dead. By the way, I told Harstem this once. I know this. I know Harstem did this in this replay, but I told him don't go 6 gas when you go Widow Mines, and he just does it anyways every game. And every game I watch him play TVZ, he's floating 2k gas, and then for the rest of the game, even if he transitions to like Mass Ghost, he just stays on 6 gas and uses up the gas bank. It's hilarious. I'm sure we're gonna see it this game, since I see a lurker down on the way, and it's gonna take 30 minutes. So yeah, all overlord spread. Drone count, in general, you just need a higher drone count. At least 80. I want to say at least 80. At your level, you should yeah, at least 80. So since you're behind against the Terran, and you have lurkers against Marine, Marauder, Widowmine, the best comeback mechanic Zerg has is to just counterattack with all the non-lurker units. So you can, if you want, you can leave like 12 banelings or so that it doesn't stim on top of your lurkers if you're really afraid. But imagine, just imagine for a second, use your imagination and think, what if 100 Zerglings and 25 banelings ran like this in here and then split up in these 3 bases? It would be, there would be 2 outcomes. A, the Terran is like, oh damn, I don't have supply right now open, so I need to go back home. And he would go back home and you would kill like 50 SCVs or something. If you do it right. Maybe you could kill just a planetary, maybe you could kill both these bases, the most exposed bases instead. Option B, the Terran is like, wait a second, the Zerg is missing a lot of supply. And he stems into lurkers. And then what he didn't know, because he didn't watch enough of the Muslim stream, is that you can't actually do that. So he would just lose all this army to 8 lurkers with a couple of banelings. So one of the best things you can do, especially if you fall behind, or not, in general, if the Terran player is not ready and doesn't have tanks, and you notice that, is instead of going for a fight like this, just leave the lurkers passive and use your Ling Bane to counterattack, because the Ling Bane, it doesn't synergize that well with the lurkers, because against the lurkers the Terran just wants to run out of range anyway, so, and versus Ling Bane you also want to kite. So this is a good move, but you could have done this with more and earlier. The moment basically you saw his army, it would have been the move. I'm really glad you sent in a Harstem replay, by the way. I can use it as a clickbait in the title. Harstem and Pepega Tuesday? That's brilliant. If one of you guys plays Loco on the ladder, please send that replay in. Could be anyone. Pig, also fine. Yeah, you're yeah, so what you did earlier is you had your army split, which is very good, and now you didn't anymore, so that's very bad. The easiest way to split your army, as I said before, is to leave your lurkers one and then the Ling Bane in the other group, but in general you can also just have some lurkers here, some lurkers here. But you need to have a army split up. You can't just have everything in once you play against better Terran players. You're just gonna get punished for that, because you can never kill a Terran, so if you just keep chasing his army from one side to another, you're always gonna lose bases for free and stuff. Now you added Vipers, which is very cool. Your opponent is still insanely far ahead. Not sure why he's this passive, honestly. Maybe he's waiting for carriers to come out of the starport. You should have blinding clouded and run in there. That was really bad, these updags. If your Vipers get that far forward, I'm gonna take a look at your vision. Your army is not very good at abducting things in general, and it's great at jumping things, right? Your Lingbane lurker. Lurkers in this case functioning as bigger lurkers. The moment you see this, that he has no units here to contest your Vipers, 2 blinding clouds and you go. No matter what's behind there, it's gonna be a good fight. I don't even know where the hell his army is. He doesn't even have that big... Like, in general, you put 2 blinding clouds here, you realize there's a third tank, put a third blinding cloud. You destroy that army, and you probably push forward to kill that base and that base. So, that's a big missed opportunity. Now it's starting to shift like nukes. Oof. The Rainer maneuver. This is a very good maneuver, by the way. This will very often win you games, but with this bank, your opponent can literally just remake all his production over here or here. By the way, guys, do you remember when I told you Harstem just makes 6 gas and then mines way too much gas early on, and then he stays 6 gas for the rest of the game? We're 20 minutes into the replay now, and the only extra gas he has mined from is this. No gas. No gas. No gas. This is not mined. I think he's redefining the meta for Terran players, because he's probably like, yeah, I'm oversaturated here anyways, why not make 6 gases? And then 10 minutes later, we can use the gas for Ghost. That's genius, honestly. I'm not sure why Maru hasn't thought of that before. So a very good move here. The easiest way of dealing with Ghosts, by the way, is to deselect a couple of Zerglings from your main army, and together with the Overseer hotkey them or don't hotkey them and patrol them. So I would have one pair of like maybe 6 links and an Overseer, or 8 links and an Overseer patrolling here, like click click, maybe like this. So it covers the Ghost from everywhere, because nukes take forever, so the Zerglings usually find them. And then another group of links patrolling like this. And you will cover everything, pretty much. Unless he nukes this where there's no drones, or this where there also aren't any drones. So this is the best way of dealing with Ghost. And then, since you know your opponent is busy defending this, you should attack somewhere else at the same time. So these units should be somewhere else. Now, there are a lot of planetaries, so you need some banelings. But for example, these tanks are super exposed, they're free picking. And probably you should have remade a Nidus to save these lurkers once they need saving. Lurkers did well though. Your opponent now officially has more command centers than barracks by a lot. He has 2 CCs, 5 planetaries, 10 orbitals. And 7 barracks. He does this with Protoss too. In late game with a 20k bank on 3 Stargates. Probably not that smart to keep using the Nidus. I think the way you should use the Nidus is just don't use it for a while now. And then later, when he forgets about it, use it. Because this is a lot of supply that could be doing things like killing this, killing this, killing this. A lot of his bases are very undefended. These 2 bases should have been killed very often already. So you can do a lot more with Lingbane in general. You never respread creep. Once you, in general, like, obviously this is a very high level stuff, but you need to realize that when your opponent is doing one thing, probably he doesn't have everything here, so you can crush this position already. You could have crushed that for the last 10 minutes. But you need to do more stuff with Lingbane based armies. That's where you trade against undefended units. Okay. You cannot afford to throw away Zerglings right now, by the way. That's not an option. We went for a Broodlord switch. I've never seen that one before. I think the way for you guys to play below 6k is to just make mass lurkers, by the way. I don't think Terrans can really deal with that. And maybe some Vipers and Hydras as well, for if they have Liberators. But with tanks, I think that it's a... Unless I just straight up sit there and camp, it's very hard for them. He's actually out of gas, he started taking these geysers. I like that with the bank you're having right now, you realize, okay, you need to be more lurker heavy now. You should never ever make corruptors right now. I don't know what the hell these corruptors are doing, but these should all be lurkers. Like, look at your... You can't afford corruptors right now. And they're not good, there's already Vikings. I lost all the Vipers there without using them. To be honest, I think you played pretty decent. I think your opponent is a Pepeg in this matchup, to be honest. In this state of the game especially. But yeah. Like, basically most of the advice that I'm giving you is about army movement, and I don't really like giving speed advice, but like... things like respraying creep and stuff is great, but I understand that that's very hard while a lot of things are going on, always, right? But maybe just take your time with a run by before you do it, even though you didn't really do that many run bys, and just spread some tumors. I think that would really help, and retaking all the bases, you should retake, at least try to retake this one. You need to at least get your half of the map established against Terran in late game. You can't just be out-expanded like that. Okay, and since I'm gonna let this play out and see if you guys have any questions. Do Ravagers outrange tanks with Bile? No, they do not. Am I allowed to go Hive Tech as Diamond 3? Absolutely. I think everyone should play whatever is the most fun for them. Is this gonna be the easiest for you to gain a MMR with Hive Tech? Probably not. Absolutely not, but... Should you try it? I think for sure. I think everyone should try around and test around with different unit compositions. Go to 24 in-game and check the 12 o'clock base. Did you lose it to a nuke or what? Or just the SCVs? You mean this? You need to tell me what I'm searching for. The fact that the SCVs killed all the drones. Yeah. That probably shouldn't happen. You're right, that probably shouldn't happen. But there's a lot of stuff going on, so it's... It is excusable. Like, 2 links would have beaten those SCVs, but yeah. Yeah, the drones also followed one drone, but I thought for a second that's why you told me the timer in the game, and I was like, that's really not that exciting, man. And no need to call him out on that mistake, but SCVs killing an entire mineral line, yeah, that's pretty new. Shall we always rush to 60 plus drones and 3 base and continue building up to 6 to 8 queens before making links? When no apparent sign of Terran attacking? Yes, you should have a base amount of Zerglings that you feel comfortable with. So let's say that number is like 14 to 16 if there are 6 plus Hellions out. Or 14 to 18 if you want. And if there are no Hellions, there's 3CC, it should be with less Zerglings, but yeah. The ZvT early game is very, very easy. You just make a base number of Zerglings, and then you just make drones. Always. Because you can hold everything. And the 2 Basalins are very obvious, so the only 2 Basalin there really is a 3 Rex tank push. And they usually have an eBay in the wall, but even if they don't, you see an unusual amount of early depots in the wall. And it will always start with Viking as well. Like, it's a very obvious push, and you can hold it also with 60 drones easily. How do we scout in ZvP after losing the Overlord to the Void Race? You don't need to, but you can watch my ZvP guide where I am explaining that. I made a ZvP guide, both video number 1 and 2 talks about it. You just really don't need to scout that much if you know all the timings, which I am explaining in my guide, so just make sure to check it out. Did they kill the hatchery? Okay, let's see it. Oh my god, okay, I did not know that. Holy shit, they did. They almost killed the hatchery as well. That's pretty dope. Which would have been big, by the way. It would have been big. Because he doesn't have any hatcheries right now that he can 9 from. The base number of links, I just filter some bit by bit. Not build them all at one go, right? The first few should all be at the same time because they're for the 4 Hellion run by. And then you can make a couple more, yes. But usually when I see you guys making them bit by bit, it ends up backfiring hardcore because you guys always make way too many. So as long as with bit by bit you mean literally 2 pairs more at a time max, because you see 2 extra Hellions, then yes, that's okay. If you're talking about always, and you're like, it feels a little bit scary right now, let's make 10 more links. No, that's very, very bad actually. So I wouldn't mind you guys just making a base number of Zerglings and staying there. After you have 16, 16, and 3. So your first 2 mineral lines saturated, and then if you see 8 Hellions, maybe you can make a couple more one time, like as a one-time thing, rather than doing it bit by bit. Yeah, the only build you need more Zerglings early on for is 2-on-1. Everything else, like the Hellion Hellbed stuff, you can defend with some Banelings. Against Hellion drop, having extra Zerglings also is nice because they might do Hellion drop plus Hellion run by, and defending this with the Zerglings can be very nice. Those are the only 2 builds really where I think making some extra Zerglings can be good. Okay, so that's it for today's Pepega Tuesday. I'm gonna put a vote in chat, and for those watching in YouTube, it's in the comments below. So you guys can vote for whoever you thought was the most Pepega. I wish I could include Harstem in this, but I cannot. Even though he won the game at 6 minutes, he did let it go on for 30 minutes and basically stayed on 6 gas throughout. But I can't include him in this one, so I'm just gonna do the other 3. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it.